I want to talk about our campaign to change the EatWell Plate. What is the EatWell Plate? Well, it is our government's advice of the balanced diet that us Brits should be eating. But it's an EatWell Plate that I believe is driving chronic illness. It's not just me that believes it. Many of the doctors we work with, in fact, doctors, nutritionists and experts in this field say, we know it's wrong, but it's difficult to change the government's mind. What does the EatWell Plate look like? It looks like this. Now, here's the problem. About a third of what we're supposed to eat is the very food that I believe is driving diabetes. That's why my dad's got diabetes type 2, because he believes this is what he should be eating. This, I believe, and a lot of experts believe, this is driving dementia. This is definitely driving obesity, because all of this, a third of what we're supposed to eat, turns into sugar inside the body. Then we're still giving nonsense advice around low-fat spreads. Even on the EatWell Plate, it says we should be consuming vegetable oil, which we know, loads of research, loads of books, loads of authors, loads of doctors saying it is wrong. So here's what we're going to do. We are out there at the moment in our Change the EatWell Plate campaign, talking to doctors, to nutritionists, and we're trying to get as many as we can to get together and design what we should be eating in the UK. What food should we eat that reduces our children's and your children's chances of getting diabetes, of becoming obese, of getting cancer, yeah? It's the EatWell Plate, I believe, that was responsible for me having to go to a funeral of a 35-year-old really close family friend yesterday because he was overweight, his overweight drove to cancer, and what drives obesity is the EatWell Plate is just fundamentally wrong. The problem is, it came about in 1955, when one man in America, Ancel Keys, had this hypothesis. At that time in 1955, Eisenhower, the president in America, had a heart attack. Everybody was scrambling around that 2 weeks he was out of the Oval Office trying to say, well, what caused his heart attack? And Ancel Keys says, I've got a theory, and I'll prove it. And he went round and did an observational study, which, by the way, is the worst study you can ever do. It's not factual. There's no data behind it. It's observational. And he looked at 22 countries. He only found 7 that supported his hypothesis that saturated fat causes heart attacks. So what did he do? Well, he didn't publish the 22 countries. He published just the 7, right? This is one American that, by all accounts, by all his friends, said he was very arrogant and so wedded and married to his own hypothesis that he talked the American Heart Association into publishing his data, saying that it was saturated fat and cholesterol that caused heart problems. Later then, the American government had a pyramid about what food we should eat. What was at the bottom? All the things we believe you shouldn't eat. And then good old Great Britain, we just copied the Americans, we copied the Yanks, we ended up with our EatWell Plate funded on what? Based on what? Based on bad research and bad science. The problem then, that big segment, that 33 segment, is where all the big companies make their money, because that's where you can get your cereals, that's where you can manufacture food, not nature's manufactured food. Oh no, you don't need much of that these days, not when you look at this chart. It's all the principle of manufactured food, reprocessed with chemicals and engineering. Anyway, we have to together get the government to change the EatWell Plate. The EatWell Plate that all the recommendations today are based on is from research, poor research that was carried out in 1955. And it's changed very little ever since. Yet there is so much research and evidence that now says the EatWell Plate is just fundamentally wrong. Please register your interest below. We're going to work with a lot of doctors to get the right EatWell Plate, the right balance. We're going to speak to a lot of doctors, lots of nutritionists. We will then publish to you first what we believe that should be. Get your approval, like a second referendum if you like. We want your interest registered now. Then we'll have a second referendum that says, this is the new evidence, do we all support it? Then together, you, us, as one big family, and Health Daddy, we will lobby governments to actually recommend an EatWell Plate for Great Britain that makes sense.